Hello and welcome to TA for Traders. It's Thursday the 7th of December. In this video we're going to look at the charts on silver, which on TradingView has the code XAGUSD. What we'll see is that in the longer term picture it remains in its downtrend. It's with the recent decline that we've seen in the last 10 days, it's getting towards the lower boundary of that downtrend, and on the daily and the 4-hour charts it looks overextended from the moving averages and looks oversold. Could there be a short-term rally? Let's look at those charts. So starting with the longer term picture, here we're looking at the weekly. So each candle represents 1 week's trade. And you can see that we're in a solid downtrend. I did say perhaps in the intro, perhaps towards a lower boundary, but actually 10 minutes memory and it's gone, and I don't think we are towards the lower boundary. If you actually drew the downtrend through those highs and then took the parallel, the lower boundary would be below 15, so be aware of that. 1590 is nowhere near the lower boundary, and you can see that the support would come in at 1522 from that low of the middle of July. We're now down below the moving averages on this weekly, and you can see that they're all starting to track down. 20, 50, 200, all very close together, moving downwards. A very negative influence on the market if there were to be any rally. And there is negative momentum on this weekly with the RSI in a downtrend. That is towards its lower boundary. It's below 50, 39.46. So if anything, there wouldn't be a surprise if there was a small consolidation here because of that RSI being at its lower boundary of the downtrend. And the MACD have rolled over again. They're below zero and indicative of negative momentum yet again. On the daily picture, sorry, that's the 4-hour. On the daily, I didn't realise that was the 4-hour. It hasn't been that bad, but as you can see, the last 10 days have been quite diabolical for the silver price, taking it down below the support of the moving averages. They did give marginal support for a day, 2 days, but then it subsided. We've now had the collapse. All the moving averages have created bearish crosses, 50, 200, 20, 50. When the 20 crossed the 200, that wasn't a bearish cross, but all the others have been. That means that when we rally, there will be severe resistance, and they'll be tracking down and be a continual negative influence on this silver price for quite some time. We are overextended, however, from those moving averages. You can see the 20 coming in at the 1675 level, and the present spot price 1590, so quite overextended. And that overextension is also shown in the RSI, which is down at 26.64, which is the lowest level we've seen since July, when we had the big fall that took us down to 1519. So be aware that the RSI is slightly oversold, is oversold, and the overextension from those moving averages. So it'd be no surprise if there were a bounce. I would suggest that any bounce would peter out before it got to 1650. And on the 4-hour picture, again, obviously a big collapse. There has been the occasional dip up for a couple of 4-hour sessions, but overall down. Moving averages continually giving resistance to the upside. The 20 is the first resistance level, which I'll tell you later, 1613. Then the 50. When you have a decline like this, it will take time for a bottoming period. as people get used to the new lower levels. It won't be an immediate bounce, and on this 4 hour, again, the 1650 level would be hard pressed to push up through there on any short term bounce. The RSI perhaps starting to show some kind of bottoming formation. It's just bubbling along at these oversold levels, 24.77. And also quite interesting that on today's low, the RSI didn't reach a low, so that's a non-confirmation. That's perhaps this first positive signs that, or potentially signs of a short-term bounce that we've seen on these charts. The MACD just indicative of the negative momentum. So looking at the support and resistance levels, we've got resistance from the 20 the 4 hour, 1613, then 1647 from the 50 of the 4 hour, with support coming in at 15614. That's the low of the 14th of July, and then 1519, which is the overall low that we had in July on the 10th. So that's been TA for traders looking at silver. The key takeaways from the video are that we're short-term oversold. However, those moving averages are in a bearish formation, but they are becoming overextended from the moving averages. Long-term downtrend remains in place. And on that 4 hour, there's a potential non-confirmation as the RSI is showing a bottoming formation. Please remember, these videos I do on YouTube are for information only, and they're not an investment recommendation.